Hey, I think there's a little bit of what I said was a little bit misconstrued. First thing about the definition, I wanted to point that I think people who use the term objectivity in reference to Ayn Rand's definition of objectivity remain inconsistent with it. So, regardless of whatever I believe or not, that was my statement, was that the way people use the term objectivity, who say, this is what Ayn Rand says objectivity is completely inconsistent with what Ayn Rand says objectivity is. I'm not saying that that is what objectivity is. I'm simply saying that it remains pretty inconsistent. And it is, it's not my place to say whether or not someone should kill themselves or not. Everyone has rights like I said, rights are the moral. This is Ayn Rand's definition of what a right is, which I find pretty correct. But rights are the moral principles defining and sanctioning our freedoms within a social context, of course. And so every man has one specific right, and all the other rights are kind of a consequence of this one specific right, and that's the right to own your own life. Meaning you can live it however you want, so long as you don't infringe on another person's rights. But fortunately for us, our metaphysics, we kind of tend to value survival over death, but of course that value differs from other people, and so it's within my best interest to not have other people kill themselves, and to have those people who want to kill themselves be productive and help and try to progress our future. But ultimately, if they want to kill themselves, I'm not the person who can say, hey, you can't do that, because they own their own life. But if they ultimately decide that killing other people makes them happy, then I think they forfeit their rights the moment they commit the act of murder or rape, because then all of a sudden you're infringing. And I think that that has to be the if without that principle of the fact that we cannot infringe on another person's rights, without that principle, I don't think mankind would be able to survive. And Eminem brings up some interesting points on the fact that we haven't really been progressing a lot as far as being able to make our society a better place, but I think there has been some progression. And you bring up the idea that if in a scenario between if my survival conflicts with your survival, I don't see how that would be. I can't understand the situation. Maybe for like if your survival depended upon murdering me, or if my survival depended on murdering you, I don't understand. In what context would that be valid? Like if we were on a stranded island and I was starving and I needed to eat something, I think that's a little extreme of a situation, and I don't think that would even be applicable in a social context. Everything kind of has to go back to the fact that we live in this gigantic network of other people acting upon their own choice to think. And yeah, of course we have to accept the probability that certain things exist. We have to accept that there maybe whatever. We have to be somewhat skeptical. That way, if something comes along and contradicts what we believe, we can just adjust our lives accordingly. But the thing is to even create a sentence, we have to make the assumption that existence is real, and that identification is real, and that our perceptions determine what our reality is. And that's another thing you said is ultimately it's our perceptions that we use in order to determine our reality. Much like a crow, they can understand units of number, but maybe they can't understand certain units of number past 5 or something. I don't remember the exact method, but our cerebral cortex, fortunately for us, rationally facilitates these units that we perceive, and it allows us to identify these units as specific objects, and then we're allowed to give them symbols, which in turn creates language. So I'm not exactly sure if I was 100% clear in this video as far as addressing any of your points. For the most part, you were primarily just bashing Ayn Rand's philosophies, which you can do whatever. I don't really care. So maybe this answered some questions. I don't really know. I would normally take notes during video, but I'm kind of time constricted. But anyways, thanks for the video reply, and respond to anything you want to talk about more clearly. I'll hopefully be able to address it more clearly. But I'm a little busy, so maybe the qualities of my video will be kind of lacking as of right now. But yeah, take care.